Hi folks, I'm Hector Garcia. I'm a CPA and an advanced QuickBooks Pro advisor. On this video, I'm going to show you two things. One, what is the best way to set up your chart of accounts, regardless of the type of business that you have. So I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on how to set up your chart of accounts to make it really easy to run reports and be able to identify which are the key categories or expenditures you need to be tracking month to month, year over year, whatever happens to be. Two, I'm going to show you how to import a chart of accounts if you happen to have it in Excel already. I have my own template that I use for most of my new clients, so I'm actually going to show you how to import that using my template. And at the end of the video, I'll show you how you can download my template if you want to use my same template to set up your brand new companies. Before I show you how to import, delete, or modify the chart of accounts, let me give you a quick preview of what my chart of account looks like. So I'm going to fully collapse all the current accounts that are here. And at the end of the day, you're going to see that simple. You're going to see a few categories: net sales, direct costs, general admin, payroll expense, sales and marketing, and other income and expenses. As I get deeper into the video, I'm going to break down each of these with each of the subcategories and maybe what they will be used for. And I can open any of these if I want to on demand, collapse, and expand. So this is what I call the ultimate ultra collapse chart of accounts that gives me total flexibility on whether I want to see one page or 3 pages, high level, or a lot of detail. All right, so I set up a brand new company file in QuickBooks Online. It has no transactions, it has no data. I'm going to go into the gear menu on the right hand side and then go down to chart of accounts. Here I see that there's a total of 25 accounts pre-set up. QuickBooks Online is always going to create a whole bunch of standard accounts in there for you. They're pretty good, but they don't happen to be the best possible way to set them up. And as you go through this video, you'll see exactly why I like them the specific way that I set them up. The other important point to have here is that this video is best for people that are starting from scratch. If you already have a QuickBooks file, if you already have transaction data, you're not really going to be able to import accounts smoothly, and you may potentially change retroactively past financial statements. So you really want to talk to your accountant to make sure that this is something you want to do to make major changes to your chart of accounts. Anyway, so let's say you're starting from scratch. You have a brand new QuickBooks Online account. You don't want to use the standard chart of accounts that they give you. So what you're going to do is you're going to delete every one of those accounts. So you're going to click on the triangle all the way to the right of each account and click on Make Inactive. Now, some of the accounts will give you an error, and it would say we can't make this one inactive because this is a default account from QuickBooks Online. And there's a few. The one that's called Uncategorized Asset, Uncategorized Income, Uncategorized Expenses, and Retained Earnings. Those typically you cannot make inactive, but everything else you can. So I'm going to go down the line and go every one of these accounts, click on the little triangle and click on Make Inactive. So I went ahead and made all the accounts inactive that the system allowed me to make inactive. And we're just down to these 5 accounts that are there. So I can't touch these. I can't change them. It's okay. I'm not going to stress out about the ones that are there now. I'm going to go ahead and import my own chart of accounts that I have in Excel that I use for 99% of my new customers that I set up in QuickBooks Online. So this is what it looks like. It has the account number in one column. It has the account type, whether it's bank, current asset, fixed asset, equity, cost of goods sold, expense, whatever it happens to be, the account name, and the detail type, which is a specific setting that QuickBooks requires you to bring in when you import that chart of accounts. So this is the Excel file that I use. It works for most companies. It has about 153 accounts right on the spreadsheet. I can make changes onto the spreadsheet, change the name, change the numbers, change the sub accounts the way I want to do them all in Excel before I import them. So that's why I really like to have them in Excel at first. So once I have it in Excel and I made all the changes that I want, I'm going to go ahead and import them into QuickBooks Online. To import it, I'm going to click on the gear menu on the top right of the screen, and then I'm going to go down to Import Data. Then I'm going to click on Chart of Accounts. Then I'm going to click on Browse. I'm going to select my Excel file that I have in my computer. Click on Open. Then I'm going to click on Next. And then the mapping is preset for me because my template, it's already pre-configured to be automatically detected by QuickBooks Online. If this doesn't happen, where this little green check marks come in automatically, you're going to click on each of these data fields, and you want to make sure that you match the field name on top of your spreadsheet to match the field name inside QuickBooks. There are 4 key field names you need to have: the detail type, the account name, the account number, and the account type. You need to have all 4 of those in order to be able to import a full chart of accounts, and my template has that already. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Next. Then it's going to give me a quick preview, letting me know everything that's being imported. Notice that it's going to import 153 accounts in total. I'm going to click on Import. If there are any accounts already in there that potentially cause a conflict because of account numbers or account names, then that's okay. It's just going to be a couple that are not going to be able to import. So at that point, you can change the name or ignore them and just move forward. Perfect. Now I'm going to go into my chart of accounts. I'm going to see my complete set of accounts that I imported. So this is from my Excel spreadsheet I already have set up. Now also in QuickBooks Online, account numbers are not set up by default. So to do that, I'm going to click on the gear menu on the right hand side of the screen. Then I'm going to click on Account and Settings. Then I'm going to go down to Advanced, all the way in the bottom of my Account and Settings. Then I'm going to click on Chart of Accounts, click on that setting, and turn on Enable Account Numbers. I like having account numbers specifically because my spreadsheet had them. So when I imported them, I brought in account numbers. But I have a couple of clients that get confused about account numbers. So depending on who the user is, we may want to choose to turn those off and on. So I'm going to go ahead and turn them on, click on Save, and then click on Done. And then you're going to see all the account numbers in here. Now, you're only going to see a few without account numbers, and these were the ones that did not import. So the ones that did not import to the import system are going to give you just a quick error on that because they were not able to import during the process. So it's only going to be a few, 4 or 5, as we mentioned earlier, that are not going to show up there with an account number, and that's okay, right? If you need to make a change on that, you can do that on the fly. Like for example, if I want to give this one an account number, I just click on the triangle, click on Edit, and then I'm going to give this one 38,000, and then click Save and Close. So it's a pretty simple process if you want to go back after the fact and add an account number to any of the ones that may be missing, but hopefully you're not going to be using or touching the ones that were not from your original spreadsheet. Unfortunately, QuickBooks will create those and won't let you touch them, but that shouldn't bother you for the most part. Okay, let me go into reports to show you exactly what this chart of account looks like. So I'm going to click on reports, and then I'm going to click on profit and loss. I'm going to show this report for the whole year, and I'm going to click on run report. So now you're going to see exactly what the chart of account looks like, as if every single account, this chart of account, had been used in a transaction. In my sample file, I actually have a transaction for $0 for each of these accounts for the example, just so they show up on the profit and loss report for the purposes of showing you how this works. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on collapse. You're going to see essentially 5 major accounts here. You're going to see the account called net sales, which is account 40,000. You're going to see the account called direct costs, which is account 50,000. You're going to see the account general and admin, which is the account 6,000. you're going to see payroll expenses, which is account 66,000, and you're going to see sales and marketing, which is account 70,000. This is personally my preferred way to set it up. 5 major accounts. Onto the other income and other expense side, there's one major account here called other income / expenses, and I left Ask My Accountant as the only other expense account. I find this to be the cleanest, easiest way to look at your report in what we call the ultra condensed fashion. Now, if I scroll up and I click on expand, that's going to open every single sub account, including 2 or 3 layers of sub accounts. For example, under net sales, you're going to see a couple of key accounts here: sales of product, other sales, sales of services, sales discounts, shipping and delivery, and bad debt. This is actually technically an expense category, but in my version of the ultra condensed sub accounts, I put that under net sales because I really want to have one simple or simplified version of sales, including all the invoices we didn't collect. Anyway, on the cost of goods sold side or the direct cost side, you're going to see a couple of key accounts here: freight and shipping cost, merchant account fees, product sample expenses, purchase discounts, purchases of resale items, which is pretty much the same thing as cost of goods sold, subcontractors, and I split up whether they're going to be 1099 eligible or non-1099 eligible. So we can actually manually collapse any of these. So I can click on this and I can collapse those that second layer of sub accounts, or I can collapse manually all of direct costs. So this is why I really like this version of it, because it allows me to collapse them in the simplest fashion, which is just a global direct cost, and then I can expand them as I need them. I'm going to scroll down a little bit and go down to expenses. I notice that I have under the 60,000 general and admin expense account, I have a couple of main sub accounts. So I'm going to collapse a couple of these. I'm going to collapse bank service charges, insurance expense, office expense, professional fees, and utilities. You see bank service charges, license and permits, depreciation, insurance expense, interest expense, casual labor, miscellaneous, office expenses, professional fees, reconciliation discrepancies, because I can't delete it otherwise I would just get rid of it, rent expense, taxes and or property taxes for that matter, and utilities. But any of these can also be expanded. So for example, I can expand bank service charge and separate the standard monthly fees with maybe the incidental and seldom transaction fees. I have some clients that like to separate those. Under insurance, we can separate things like general liability, life and disability. Some people like to put auto insurance or workers' comp insurance, that sort of thing. In my particular ultra condensed version, I sent auto insurance under the auto category, which is a different area altogether. And I send workers' comp insurance and health insurance under payroll, which is also on a different category. So it's up to you whether you want to have it under auto or payroll separately, or if you want to throw it all in there. Now, if you look at office expenses, this is the biggest category. So under this, I have a couple of things. I have office supplies and software, dues and subscriptions, equipment rental, janitorial expense, office supplies, credit and background checks, postage and delivery. This would be the non-direct postage and delivery, printing and reproduction, repairs and maintenance, collections cost. Now, again, if you're looking at this right now and you're saying, oh, my company doesn't do some of these don't seem to be relevant to my business. This is why I find my version of the spreadsheet to be pretty much the most flexible thing, because before you import it, you can come here and say, you know what, I am not going to have this type of expense or that type of expense. So all you have to do is delete the ones that you don't want to see by deleting them off the spreadsheet. Simple like that. And then you can go ahead and import your spreadsheet, including or excluding the ones that you don't want, right? And you can also insert a line here and basically copy and paste one altogether on the bottom, okay? And then you can add a different type of insurance. So for example, if I wanted to put auto insurance in here, I can simply do it, and then I have to make sure that I give it a unique number. So just change one of the digits, make sure it doesn't repeat with any any other digits. And then all of a sudden, when I import my chart of accounts, I'll be able to bring in that specific line from the spreadsheet. So the spreadsheet is totally flexible, but that's before the import, which is why I emphasize it is so important that you work with a brand new file from scratch before importing something from a spreadsheet. So let's collapse that. Let's look at professional fees. We have income tax preparer or CPA, auditing accountants, outside or other legal accountants, consultants, outsourced bookkeeping, all that stuff is going to be under professional fees. And then when I expand utilities, we see things like telephone, gas, security, water, and internet access and all those things. So I'm going to collapse that. Then I'm going to scroll up and I'm going to collapse all of general and admin, right? So that's why I really like about having these really high level categories, because it allows me to really deep per group or group them in a way that they're very, very logical. So under payroll expenses, which also technically in the spreadsheet, if you want to, you can make payroll expenses a sub of general and admin. I have many customers that only want to see two, general and admin and sales and marketing. So for those folks, we put payroll under general and admin. But a lot of my clients, payroll is a significant expense and they want to see it by itself. They want to monitor and try to control that a payroll expense as much as possible. So because of that, we gave it its own parent category. And then we have things like health insurance, workers' comp, compensation of officers, compensations of employees, payroll taxes, payroll processing fees, and other payroll related expenses. So those are the type of things that we would see under that payroll expense category. So I'm going to click on the little triangle and collapse that. So now we're down to sales and marketing. So let me go ahead and collapse all the subcategories under sales and marketing, which is only a few really. We have automobile expense, commissions paid to non-employees, continuing education and training, travel expense, working meals, advertising and promotion. Now for some folks, continuing education and training would probably be general and admin. In my case, for most of my customers, that's really more of a sales and marketing type of expense. Also, automobile expense is a little bit tricky because automobile could be general and administrative, or it could be sales and marketing, depending on the context in which the automobiles are used. If you're a delivery business, automobile obviously is general admin, and in many cases, it would be a direct cost. But if you have salespeople, sales rep or customer service reps on the field talking to customers, and they're using company vehicles, that's more of a sales and marketing. So that may be a decision you have to make at the high level and maybe just fix it on the spreadsheet before you import it. But that gives you an idea more or less where I put them for most of my clients. So anyway, so when I open up automobile expense, we're going to see things like car and truck lease, auto insurance, gas and fuel, other auto and maintenance and repairs, parking and tolls, and mileage reimbursement for the employees. Then when we go ahead and open travel expense, we see things like transportation during travel, airfare, meals while traveling, travel-related reimbursements, hotel and lodging. Those are the most common for travel. Then under advertising and promotion, I like to break this down as deep as possible because I find marketing, advertising to be one of those areas that you really want to control those expenses. So we have them broken down by uniforms, business gifts, website, social media, some maybe web-based pay-per-click ads, local ads, other marketing expenses, trade shows, and meals with clients and events. And then I'm going to go ahead and collapse sales and marketing. And that's how we got to those three major parent accounts. Again, payroll could be general or admin, or it could be sales and marketing. For some of my clients, they want me to set up two separate payroll categories, one for each major category. I've done that before. I do that all in the spreadsheet before importing. And in this particular case, I'm separating payroll completely out of general and sales, even if it kind of has to do one or the other. So that would be up to you. Then let's scroll down a little bit and let's look at other income and expenses. So I created one other income category called income and expenses. And these numbers may be pluses and minus based on whether it's income or expenses. But I like to have it by itself netted. That way I can only have one thing on the other expenses, which is ask my accountant, which that should be by itself, right? Because you should never be looking or printing at a financial statement while there's things inside as my accountant. That's why I like to have it by itself, isolated, so it really jumps out the reader when they're looking at these reports. So under other income and expense, we have things like state, franchise, and income tax, finance charge income, insurance proceeds, interest income, credit card points and rewards, proceeds from the sale of business assets, disaster-related expenses. And there's other very miscellaneous things that you can add under this bucket. This is what accountants call extraordinary income or extraordinary expenses. So we'll collapse that. Now there's a particular reason why I like this. So I'm going to go ahead and collapse all of the accounts, and I'm going to show you what 12 months worth of information would look like. So I'm going to click on display columns by, I'm going to click on month, and then I'm going to click on run report, and then we're going to see what 12 months worth of profit and loss report will look like, all with collapsed accounts. And what's beautiful about this setup is when I try to export this or to print it, this is going to look or print in one page. So I can put it on landscape, and in one page, it would be, the font size will be big enough. You'll be able to see 12 months worth, even quarterly, 4 months worth, and you're going to be able to see all the income and expenses in their major categories. Now, for in some cases, you may want to expand them and then maybe selectively choose which ones you want to collapse. So for example, I want to collapse all of the major accounts here, but then maybe the report user wants to see one particular group broken down. So just break down sales and marketing, and then go ahead and maybe collapse the second layer of subcategories and break it down this way. So then when you export the report, you got higher chances that this report will fit in one page. Again, the major purpose of this is at the end of the day, we want to get or try to get a one-page report. That's the ultimate goal, right? To be able to print reports in as little pages as possible. So having this major higher categories gives you flexibility, because in not every case, you want to see all the accounts all in one shot. For example, I'm going to hit close here for a second, and then I'm going to click on collapse one more time, and then expand. Okay, and let's say, for example, we were going to print a report with all the accounts expanded. Now I'm going to make this total only, so it doesn't show the 12 months anymore. And then I'm going to export it or show you what it would look like printed. And this would essentially be a fully expanded profit and loss. This would be 3 pages long. So in many cases, that's valuable. Like some folks will want to see 3 pages worth of information if you need to see everything. But I think it's really, really good to have that flexibility to be able to collapse on and off. Now moving on to the balance sheet, I'm going to go ahead and click on reports and click on balance sheet. And then I'll click here in all dates just so it shows everything. And then I click on run report. So balance sheet in particular, this is where importing from a template is not as valuable, because every company would have its own set of assets, liabilities. In other words, balance sheet is a lot more custom than grabbing a template to do a profit and loss. So the template will import some of the basic balance sheet accounts, like a bank's parent account, other receivables, inventory, employee advances, prepaid insurance, furniture and equipment, buildings, land, vehicles, leasehold improvements, accumulated depreciation, security deposit assets, credit card parent account, other payables, advanced custom payments, and my favorite, the equity accounts. So what my template has is a whole bunch of equity accounts that pertain to the owner's personal expenses. Now, I'm not a big fan of owners running personal expenses through their businesses, but they do it. They just do it. So as an accountant, as a bookkeeper, I have to be classifying the personal stuff all the time. And in many cases, I dump it all into like one distributions account. So what I've done to make my life easier, and also the business owner's life easier, is I made a whole bunch of subcategories for personal things like charitable contributions, political contributions, rent or mortgage of personal home, utilities of personal home, personal income taxes, personal vehicle, entertainment, personal travel, groceries, family activities, restaurants, etc., etc. So all of these personal expenditures are probably not going to be tax deductible. So I created one big parent account called Owner's Personal Expenses, and everything is broken down inside of there. So that may give the person that's doing the data entry security that they're choosing the correct category. But if they're not paying attention, they may not be noticing that this is all equity or a distribution account. If you don't know what that means because you're not an accountant, you may want to ask your accountant about that. But long story short, personal expenses are not deductible through the business, so they shouldn't even be in your QuickBooks at all. But because they are, and they probably will be there, it's good to at least give them a category, because at some point it may be useful to run a report or personal expenses by its subcategory. Finally, it's also worth mentioning that I have another version of that spreadsheet, of the template, that doesn't contain those main categories. So all the expense categories are sort of on their own, and you would see them in one page without those major categories. So unfortunately, it may bleed into a second page. But if you prefer not to have those major categories and just have all the expense accounts just shown there without a major parent category, that's also an optional spreadsheet that I have in the kit. And it does fully expanded, does come with the same subcategories. It just doesn't have those main general and admin, sales and marketing, and payroll parent categories that I was showing earlier. But you can still collapse and expand. Just all the expenses are sort of by themselves without those 5 major categories as we shown earlier. Now, if I manually collapse the other income and other expenses, and I try to print the report with income and expenses collapsed, the way my template is set up, it will just be one page. So we do get to that proverbial one page as long as those other extraordinary items are fully collapsed. So that's why that second optional spreadsheet could also be useful for you. So the point of this video is you should organize your chart of accounts in such a way to make the reports really easy to read. You should use a template such as this one that has the 4 columns that you need in order to build your own chart of accounts in Excel and import it hopefully into a blank QuickBooks file. This blank template I'll make available, so I'll put a link below in the description so you can download the blank template. However, if you want to purchase either my template that has the full chart of accounts with the ultra collapsible major categories, or without, that is all part of a kit that I sell that comes with all the templates for QuickBooks Online and also the templates for QuickBooks Desktop. In the links below in the description, I'll put a link to this page, right? So you go straight to this page on my website. You can read through the website if you want to, but you really don't need to. Once you watch the whole video, you just look at the big red button that says buy now. You click on buy now. It's $48, so you just click on pay $48, and it will send you to the PayPal purchase website. In here, if you have a PayPal account, you can put that information, or if you don't have PayPal, just click on pay debit or credit card. You input your information, and you're going to get a zip file from me. That zip file has multiple templates for QuickBooks Desktop and multiple templates for QuickBooks Online. So if you're using both platforms, you can use any template you want. If you're only using QuickBooks Online, they will be clearly labeled. You know exactly what's going to be there. Just use those. Anyway, I hope you liked this video, that you learn how to use chart of accounts in QuickBooks Online. Hopefully you have some ideas on how to set up your own. Hopefully you'll be able to import your own chart of accounts from Excel. And if you love my chart of accounts and you want to save hours and hours of time, just go ahead and purchase it and hit like, subscribe to the channel. Add some comments below if you think I missed something or what other videos you would like to see. Thank you.